of Queensland in Australia in 2008. By 2011, the 3MT competition phenomena had spread around the globe, and now more than 900 universities from more than 85 countries hold these competitions. In 2014, UNLV held our first 3MT, the Rebel Grad Slam, and this year will be our 12th annual Research Rumble. The 3MT is a fantastic opportunity for students to learn how to convey who they are and what they study to an audience of folks who are mostly outside of their field. It is an opportunity to build public speaking and communication skills. It's worth noting that our slammers come from all over campus and from a wide range of disciplines. This week, we have over 100 UNLV graduate and professional students assigned to compete in the preliminary rounds. Each will present their research in 3 minutes or less using one slide and no props. We will introduce each student and then start the timer. If a student goes over 3 minutes, they will be eliminated from the competition. Now let's turn our attention to the scoring for this Research Rumble. The judges will be assessing the competitors based on metrics which total 24 possible points in 4 major areas: comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Each judge will independently score each competitor. Judges will not penalize competitors for unanticipated disruptions that are beyond the slammer's control. At the end of the presentations, we will tally the judges' combined scores for each grad slammer and announce the winners right here live. The top 3 in this session will advance to the semifinals. So without further ado, let me introduce the judges, and then we'll get on with our 3MT Research Rumble. We have a set of very distinguished judges in today's session. Judges, please feel free to turn on your camera and briefly wave to say hello as I introduce you. First, we have Dr. Roberto Sagarabe. We have Dr. Sarah Rosencrans. We have Tyler D. Perry. We have Joy Osmansky, Laura Valentino, and Dr. Rochelle Hines. Welcome, and thank you so much for serving on our panel of judges today. So we're ready to begin the competition. Our first presenter is Sebastiano Cupani, Doctor of Philosophy, Biological Sciences.
Hello, everyone. Let's start this series of presentation talking about seals. And come on, who doesn't like seals? Look how pretty is these elephant seals on my slide. I took this picture in one of my field trip in California. So as you can understand, I use seals as a model animal in my research. And I am interested in investigating how blood vessels squeeze or better vasoconstrict in this animal. And you might wonder why. Well, let me give a little bit of background information. If we move to the image on the left, we have a seal on top of the ice. This is a weather seals that live in Antarctica. And if you follow the blue line, when the seals start diving to go catch a fish under the water, we see that the oxygen saturation in the blood, how much oxygen is present, start dropping immensely, reaching a very low level, 25%, which is extremely low if you think about us a few years ago during the pandemic, when we have 90% of all oxygen saturation, we were facing a very critical medical condition. But on the other hand, the seals doesn't seem to be bothered by that. And they perform these dives over and over and over. They spend more time underwater than at the surface throughout their life. How to do that? Well, besides having many physiological adaptation to low level of oxygen, they have a very strong dive response. The dive response is common in all mammals, including us, and it takes place when cold water touches our face. The nervous system lowers the heart rate, so the heart starts pumping slower, and vasoconstricts, squeezes the vessel to the tissue, so less oxygen can be consumed by the tissue. Now, in this animal, in the seal, this dive response is very strong, and as you can see from the cartoon in the middle of my slide, the blood flow is completely reduced or cut off in some of the organ that they don't use underwater, like the kidney and the muscles. And this helps to redirect the blood flow to the brain and the heart, which is the very helpful organ in when you are underwater. Now, we think that this type of response is not only regulated by the nervous system, but other molecule might be help the nervous system. And I am investigating the role of endothelin-1, which is one of the most potent vasoconstrictor squeezing molecule that we know. And I found that is higher present in the kidney than in the brain in many species of seals and sea lions, suggesting that there is higher vasoconstriction in the kidney. This result also opposite of what is known in the literature about terrestrial mammal, and I think that's a very neat result. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We'll now give our judges a minute to score. Next up, we have Kirsten Calvin Dunn, Doctor of Philosophy, Neuroscience.
Let's imagine your brain as an orchestra. The hippocampus plays the melody of memory. The frontal cortex keeps time like a percussionist, guiding focus and decisions. And deep within, other regions add harmony, emotion, and rhythm. Now imagine that one section starts playing out of sync. A violinist misses the beat, the percussion comes in too soon. The conductor, the brain's communication network, tries to keep everyone coordinated, but the music starts to fall apart. This is what we believe happens in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease. Not when memory is already gone, but when the brain's rhythms start losing coordination. And here's the part that many people don't realize. This breakdown in timing may begin years before any physiological markers like plaques or tangles appear in the brain. So my research asks, can we detect these early silent disruptions before the concert ends? I study this using a rat model of chronic hyperglycemia, which is a condition of persistently high blood sugar often seen in diabetes. Diabetes isn't just a metabolic disease, it's now recognized as a major risk factor for Alzheimer's. High blood sugar alters blood flow, it fuels inflammation, and it disrupts the brain's electrical activity long before memory symptoms even show up. In our experiment, we implant tiny electrodes into memory and decision-making centers, specifically the hippocampus and the anterior cingulate cortex. We record brain activity as the animals move through familiar and unfamiliar environments, watching how that neural symphony plays out. We measure brain waves like theta and gamma rhythms and analyze how different regions synchronize and communicate. And we ask, do these rats still recognize where they are? Can their brains still keep time? And the answers that we've seen are revealing. Even without plaques or tangles, we see warning signs, slower rhythms, missed cues, regions falling out of sync. It's as if the orchestra is still playing, but no longer in harmony. And that matters because hyperglycemia affects millions of people, and it's something that we can act on. With exercise, diet, stress reduction, and sleep, we don't just manage blood sugar. We may help preserve the brain's ability to coordinate, remember, and function. And if we can detect and respond to these early disruptions, this neural discord, we may not need to wait for Alzheimer's to become irreversible. So let's listen closely, because if we can detect the brain's early misfires, we may be able to restore its rhythm before memory even skips a beat.
Thank you. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is Shiva Manshore, Master
Hello,
of
everyone.
Architecture. Sorry,
Hello.
go ahead.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Shiva. Well, picture yourself walking down the Las Vegas Strip on a summer afternoon. The lights are bright, the hotels are impressive, but after only a few minutes outside, the heat feels overwhelming. This isn't just summer heat, it's the combined impact climate change and urban heat island effect. On the Las Vegas Strip, where millions of tourists visit it every year, the heat makes outdoor space not just uncomfortable but unsafe. Urban areas here can be more than 6 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than the surrounding desert. And in 2024 alone, 500 people in Clark County lost their lives to extreme heat. So, this is not only about comfort, it's about public health, safety, and the livability of our city. That's where my research begins. I focused on a section of the strip between the Wynn Hotel and the Fashion Show Mall, one of the busiest and hottest pedestrian corridors in the city. Using Rhino and Ladybug, I simulate microclimate conditions for both today's climate 2023 and a future 2050 scenarios. This led me to this question. How can sustainable design strategy improve pedestrian thermal comfort? And will those strategies still work under projected 2050 climate change? Through parametric design and optimization, I developed computer models to test and refine different combinations of sustainable strategy for this part of the strip. Without a smart design, my simulation showed that outdoor comfort would decline sharply as average temperature could rise by up to 7 degrees Fahrenheit. But with sustainable design intervention, the story changed. I test four main strategies: cool pavement, parametric shading structure, enhancing green space and tree canopy, and green facade and roof. Together, this strategy improved the universal thermal climate index by above 5 degrees Fahrenheit and increased shade coverage by up to 30%. But this project isn't just about one street, it's about the future cities in the hot earth climate. A future where design and science work together to keep urban life resilient, cooler, healthier, and more livable. Thank you so much.
We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is LaVale Thompson Jr., Doctor of Musical Arts in Performance.
Thank you for having me. When Africans, I don't see the timer.
It should be in the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
I see it now. Sorry, thank you. When Africans were brought here to this country, they came here as slaves. With them, they brought their cultural practices, and their traditions to include music and dancing and other forms of visual art. Of particular interest to me would be a genre called the Negro spiritual. Of course, in those days, Negro spirituals were prominently featured and heard in the southern states. But my question is this: how did Negro spirituals end up all the way out here in the northwestern region of the country from the South? I'm glad you asked. So after slavery was abolished in the 1860s, many Africans were pursuing opportunities to enrich their lives for the betterment and growth of their families. This would have been in the form of seeking employment opportunities. Well, the males in particular had a very specific skill set because they had been working as slaves in that area. So they worked for sawmills. There was a particular sawmill in Louisiana called the Cady Lumber Company. And when William Cady's company began to start losing business because the lumber industry in Louisiana kind of dried up, he packed up his company and moved all the way to the Northwest area in Arizona. So that was one way that Africans migrated this way. Additionally, in 1931, there was a dam completed, the Hoover Dam project. It was signed in 1931. The contract, it was for $48 million. And needless to say, that brought more people of African descent here. And finally, would be the Clark Railroad system. That brought more Africans because, again, they were pursuing work opportunities. Well, we know factually that there were persons here performing spirituals in 1931. This would be the first confirmed public appearance of Negro spirituals that we have documented, as seen in this article here that's from 1931. The Prentice Jubilee Singers from the Prentice Institute came here pursuing donations. They were looking for money for their school in Normal, Mississippi, because in those days, the government did not give funds to Black colleges. Thank you.
We will now give our judges the minute to score. Our next slammer is Trey Bew, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychological and Brain Services.
Let's play a quick game. Think about a voice assistant. Well, if we do have more than 3 minutes, I can play this game with you guys, but because we don't, so here's some spoiler for the answer. You might think it as a cylinder, a robot, or maybe even a person. My research explored these very questions. I studied how children and adults imagines AI and how these visual connected with a deeper meaning of personality, warmth, and competence. My research asked the critical questions. Do children who are surrounded by AI project gender stereotypes onto the machine? This question matters since, unlike traditional toys, voice assistant can act thinking and respond almost like a person. To understand these questions, I use the Wizard of Oz research design, where I have a group of children and adults interact with the voice assistant that were being controlled by a researcher. So just like the Wizard of Oz, using some technique to make it magic, we use some technique to make the machines feel more autonomous and responsive. Afterward, they're gonna rate the machines on warmth and competence, drew it, and then explain the drawing. Here's what I found. Voice assistant performance isn't tied to gender, as both age group rate the machines on both high warmth and competence. However, adults as a group have a tendency to imagine the AI as a person, like a smart guy or a cat-faced woman, whereas children drew the robot or the chatbot itself and imagines AI as a technology. This difference matters since mental image can shape behavior. If children think of AI as mechanical, they can either overtrust the output or undertrust the helpful guidance. And either way, it can influence the way children follow advice or ask critical questions. To be honest, this result surprised me because I thought children would be the one who personify the chatbot. They maybe even think there is a person trapped inside the box. But in fact, adult is the one who did it. Children drew the machine. And I spent days just to think, okay, how to make this impressive for everybody sitting here. But I couldn't because I realized how little we know about kids and how much assumption we made about them. Company do research focus on adults since they are the buyer. However, children are the one who use the product frequently and will be the decision maker tomorrow. So we should focus on them intentionally, not an afterthought. And for AI, will become more and more embedded in our daily life. So more than just research about its impact, we should research about how to live with it. And ultimately, my research is not about robot. It's about people. It's about giving children a chance to live with a technology that promote equality, not outdated stereotype. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is Liam Johnson, Doctor of Philosophy, Anthropology.
Every missing person is a story paused mid-sentence. In the US, it's estimated that over 600,000 people are reported each year, and there's an additional 4,000 sets of unidentified human remains that are expected to be found annually. This growing number of unresolved cases has been described as America's silent mass disaster. And you might not have heard about this one because, unlike most disasters, this one unfolds quietly in the backyards and backgrounds of our community. As a forensic anthropologist, I study human remains to help identify the deceased and return them to their families. But forensic anthropology isn't just about bones. As much as we love bones, it's more about people and systems. And for my research, it's about better understanding the social conditions that determine who gets identified and who doesn't. Our current approach for reconciling these two types of cases is inadequate and frankly fragmented. Databases and agencies often aren't able to communicate with each other, and what that translates into is often those most vulnerable amongst us are left unreported. My research examines a growing phenomenon called missing person events. These events bring together families, law enforcement, forensic professionals like myself, as well as a variety of other victim and support advocates. When together, we exchange and share information as well as provide every support that we can for those looking for their loved ones. The great thing about these events is they transform a process that's typically closed and bureaucratic into one that is collaborative and compassionate. This last year, along with the Clark County Office of the Coroner and Medical Examiner, I helped organize our state's first event, Missing in Nevada Day. One day, one location, multiple agencies, and real results. In just a few hours, we collected 12 new DNA reference samples, filed 10 new missing person police reports, and helped provide some much awaited information to families. The success of events like these demonstrate that passive and reactive approaches of old may no longer be as efficient as we once thought. Missing in Nevada Day and others like it represent a tangible and evidence-based step towards a more equitable and effective approach to disappearance. An approach that preserves autonomy, builds community trust, and strengthens institutional accountability. Now, missing persons, and every single one of them does represent a story paused mid-sentence. However, I like to think that these events are a way to be able to create opportunities for their stories to continue. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me to share this story with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Thank you so much. Our next slammer is Satare Chesmeyer, Doctor of Philosophy, Civil and Environmental Engineering.
Hi, everyone. Please look at the home in a picture one. Each part of this home produced different wastewater streams with totally distinct characteristics in their nature. The wastewater from toilet is classified into black water and yellow water, which is urine. And the wastewater from bath, laundry, and kitchen is called gray water. In my research, I'm gonna treat wastewater streams from a household to make it drinkable again, that we call the potable water reuse. However, producing drinking water from wastewater is so challenging, and one of the contaminants of concerns are organic matters. In a picture two, you can see that the organic matters in a wastewater have three different origins. First of all, natural organic matters. These are organic matters that occur naturally in the drinking water resources, such as rivers and reservoirs, and they come from the decomposition of the plants and animal bodies in the water and soil. The second class are microbial organic matters that happen in a wastewater because of the decay and growth of the microbes in the wastewater processes. And the final ones are trace organic matters, which are very, very small carbonaceous compounds that find their way into the water bodies. And these are like personal care products and pharmaceuticals and PFAS. Organic matter are important in a wastewater treatment because they can react with the disinfectant like chlorine and chloramine and produce carcinogenic materials that we call them disinfection byproducts. From the potable water reuse, it's not acceptable to expose consumers to the cancer risk of this kind of materials. So they should be controlled and removed from the wastewater or water reuse trains. My dissertation is about to monitor the organic matters during the water reuse train and look at their changes in their nature to be able to select the most suitable disinfectant in a final step of wastewater treatment. And I have to optimize the disinfection process in a wastewater. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is Lauren Gleave, Master of Fine Arts, Creative Writing.
I need to unmute myself. To paraphrase poet and novelist James Joyce, we find the universal in the specific. As a writer, I aspire to the universal. It is the universal that allows authors to connect with their readers, to change their minds, and to invite them into their world and to an interrogation of the world at large. With this in mind, I knew that I wanted my thesis topic to be something that touched upon universality. That thesis would be a full-length manuscript of poetry. Universality is not an easy thing to find, especially in today's world, which feels increasingly divided. Despite this, I can guarantee that I have landed on something that every single person in this call and in the world has in common. That is, we all were born and we all will die. And importantly, we all have to cope with that mortality. I have my own background that informs the way I view that mortality. I was raised quite religiously, and every Sunday I went to church to discuss why we come to Earth and why we die. I also have a background in healthcare. My undergraduate degree is in that field, and healthcare is arguably science's great struggle against death, or if you're in obstetrics, great struggle towards birth. I also am a part of a family. I have loved ones who I know I will one day outlive. I will one day bear children who hopefully will outlive me. I also have a line of ancestors for which these statements are equally true. That being said, my specifics did not quite feel robust enough for a topic as large and far-reaching as birth and death. Apologies to James Joyce, but my specific wasn't quite cutting it. So with that in mind, I embarked on my research process, where not only did I look through archives and evaluate the work of past writers on birth and death, but I also traveled as far away from home as I could get. I visited India. And while in India, I took courses on healthcare, I visited religious sites, and I spoke with people very different from myself about their views on birth and death. On the way home, I also was lucky enough to swing by Nepal, where I visited a living goddess and observed a funeral, and Japan, where the people live long and their traditions often live longer. After being so lucky as to do all this travel, I found the ultimate universality that lives at the core of my thesis. That we all have this one thing in common. We struggle against death. We fight towards it, and if we're lucky enough, we accept it. And the great heartbreak and joy of human life is that our stories begin, and like everything, our thesis, our time at the university, this presentation even, they end.
Thank you. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is Bijoya Vatterji, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Hi everyone, I'm Bijoya, using computer vision to combine satellite imagery, drone data, and ground measurements for a better understanding of the environment, specifically wildfires. Now, let's look at this problem. Imagine standing in the middle of a burned forest after a wildfire. Beneath your feet, the ground looks calm, but it has changed. The soil no longer absorbs water, so plants can regrow, rain turns to floods, and toxins might seep deep into the food we eat. And our satellites can only see colors and textures, so from space, everything looks fine, while the Earth suffocates quietly beneath those pixels. So we are flying blind, meaning we have images, but no understanding. Why should we even care? Because this isn't just about trees or soil, it's about every breath, every bite, every home. Because air, food, water, and life itself is all connected through the health of our land. The gap. So remote sensing from drones and satellites gives us stunning coverage, like a beautiful bird's eye view. Every pixel, every tree, excellent ground coverage, but pixels don't tell us what's really going on beneath the surface. Since images can measure soil chemistry, hydrophobicity, or nutrient level, but on the other hand, field scientists can. They can collect samples that tell the full story in detail, the precise truth, but only at a few sparse points. So we're stuck. We can either see everything but know nothing precisely, or know precisely but see almost nothing. And that's a dangerous blind spot for a planet in crisis. Now, the solution. So this research aims to bridge that gap using computer vision and machine learning, using the same kind of models powering facial recognition or self-driving cars, but training them to see the environment differently. And here's how. Existing models treat images and measurements separately, but this one fuses them. So on the left here, you can see a drone image along with a few ground samples. Here I take UAV or satellite images and apply semantic segmentation, meaning teaching AI to recognize what's in every pixel: soil, vegetation, fire, water, smoke, etc. And then I combine that with a handful of real field measurement, the accurate physical data that was collected on the ground. And together, this fusion creates a powerful tool. The AI learns how fire, water, smoke, and vegetation may look like in an image, and then it can also predict physical properties everywhere densely at every single point, even where there are no true measurements exist, which you can see on the rightmost image. So from a few ground samples, now we have a complete replica of the environment itself, now measurable everywhere. The big impact, why does this matter? Because it turns scattered pixels and scattered measurements into actionable insights. Imagine firefighters responding faster, farmers managing crops smarter by seeing nutrient stress before it's even visible to the eye, policymakers allocating resources where ecosystems are the most vulnerable. So one model, millions of insights. And with this, just maybe we can help our planet breathe a little bit easier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our next slammer is Layli Abdi, Doctor of Philosophy, Hospitality Administration.
Imagine standing on a quiet Caribbean beach, and turquoise water, warm breeze, and pure relaxation. Now picture this, please. Instead of only sunbathing, you join the local woman waving basket. You talk to them, they are talking to them, and they laugh with you, and they are talking about the story of their children's future. And no, you're buying a basket from them. Not, it's out of charity, right? But you buying the basket just because because it has impact, memory, and connection for you. And then you are leaving the place with joy and purpose. And in that moment, when pleasure meets impact, it is philanthrotourism. And travel philanthropy or philanthrotourism means that travel that uplifts the community without crafting dependency. No charity, no saving anyone. And here's my big question. How we do inspire more travelers to seek purpose alongside pleasure? And I study how marketing can encourage travelers to enjoy paradise and invest in local people and culture ethically. And that is so important. And actually, marketing is not about advertising, it shapes expectations, emotions, and behavior. And all of us, we know that the Caribbean depends heavily on tourism, yet many local people do not benefit fairly. And that is the reason I want to find how marketing can bridge hedonism and altruism motivation during the travelers. And for answering the question that out of hospitality, what is the impact? For example, no matter who we are, the nationality, the major, nothing, but the matter is that we are all in common, that we are people and we are traveler. Then if travelers enjoy culture, nature, and connection, while they help empowering the communities, we will see more fair and justice world. definitely we will help to Sustainable Development Goals of UNWTO, and we will save our planet to next generation, and we will see more beautiful planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now give our judges a minute to score. Our final slammer today is Lucas Richardson, Doctor of Philosophy, Neuroscience.
Alzheimer's disease is very much so like a puzzle with missing pieces. Now, that's not to say that we don't understand the disease. In fact, to say that would be completely untrue. In fact, if you look at this slide here in front of you, you see that each and every one of these puzzle pieces are filled with a hallmark of the disease. And these have come from years and years of scientific discovery in labs all around the world. In fact, you may even recognize some of them. Things like the protein aggregates, the amyloid beta plaques and tau tangles that we see in the brain that are then associated with the disease. Connectivity changes, changes in the neural circuits that result in some of the memory deficits we see in our loved ones who suffer from the disease. Even things like metabolic dysregulation and inflammation have all been tied to the disease pathology itself. The problem is that when scientists look at coming up with treatments or doing drug discovery to try to treat Alzheimer's disease, they often do so with only a few of these puzzle pieces in front of them. As we all know, it's notoriously difficult to try to solve a puzzle without knowing what the full picture looks like. And so that's what my research focus is. I'm looking at trying to create a lab-based model of Alzheimer's disease that incorporates as many of these puzzle pieces as possible. So when we do something like drug discovery, we have the full picture. Now, the model that I'm doing this in is something called a cerebral organoid. And it's a little bit of a weird name, but really what it is it's a clump of neurons that can be formed from any cell type in the adult human body. This means you could start with skin cells or blood from a blood draw, and through a whole series of genetic manipulations that I certainly don't have the time to talk about in these 3 minutes, you end up with a clump of neurons that have some important characteristics. The first is that you start to see some of the same structures that you see in the human brain. Things like cortical layering and patterning, progenitor neurons leading to more adult cell types. So you can actually see how the disease is affecting these structures in the brain. And the second is that these cells have the same exact genetic makeup as the individual that you took them from. This means you can get a more personalized medicine approach. You can see if someone's genetic background can actually influence how they react to a drug target. Now, the two models that I'm looking at creating are testing the differences between our cerebral organoids generated from Alzheimer's disease patients themselves and comparing that to people who don't have the disease, and then creating cerebral organoids and inducing the disease pathology in them. We can do this by using things like the biomarkers that are found in the blood. And so by profiling these two different methods of creating cerebral organoids, our hope is that we can create the best lab-based model for Alzheimer's disease that incorporates as many of these puzzle pieces as possible so we can get the full picture. And we hope that we can find not only a way to treat it, but also find more pieces of the puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us for our preliminary rounds. Thank you to the Graduate College team who have made this 3MT event possible. Now, just stay tuned. We'll announce the winners live in just a few minutes. Judges, please be sure to press submit at the bottom of your scoring rubric form. While only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you will all be winners of a Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt. You can get yours during the Rebel Grad Slam Finals reception. For the preliminary rounds, first place winner receives $300, second place winner receives $200, and third place winner receives $100. We will now just wait for the results. Okay, are you ready? Here are the winners for this preliminary round. First place goes to Kirsten Calvin Dunn. Second place, we had a tie for Trabu and Lucas Richardson. And third place goes to Bojoyi Vacharji. Congratulations. Thank you again for your participation, and please join us for the semifinal rounds on Thursday, November 6th at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1:30 p.m. in the Greenspun Auditorium. And for the finals rounds, which is this Friday, November 7th at 4 p.m. in the Greenspun Auditorium. Lastly, we will have your Rebel Grad Slam t-shirts available at the finals reception in the Greenspun lobby for you. We welcome you to RSVP for the finals event with the link that has been put in the chat. Congratulations to all of you and have a wonderful day.